I do want to correct the record. We had an earlier discussion on the energy master plan that there was not addressing any kind of residential matters. But on page 167 of the plan, it speaks to residential usage. So
I was making the distinction between, yes, the energy master plan, of course, mentions residential issues. The residential buildings are a huge source of greenhouse gas emissions, a huge source of inefficient energy use, no question. What I'm saying is that there isn't a requirement, any mandate, any rule change to do something about it. The issue is just identified, right? Nothing is being done about it.
I mean, we should have an honest conversation that when we put out policy proposals or thought leadership, thought bubble, it's to identify the legislative or the legal implications that eventually, and I know my colleague has already spoken about that, so I don't want to belabor this.
I couldn't agree more. And the other thing that we should share with you to that point is the Global Warming Response Act report, right? Under the Global Warming Response Act, DEP was charged by the legislature to deliver a report and recommendation to the legislature on how we achieve these things, through what regulatory and legislative mechanisms. And so we did that in October of 2020, and we'll get you a copy of that, delivered this report to the legislature, and it says how you would achieve what the Energy Master Plan says. But part of that is what this body and the greater legislature decides to do, not what we decide to do. Our obligation was to point out the issues to you and suggest ways that you could address them.
And with regard to commercial buildings, that's a very concrete recommendation about the boilers. Would large apartment complexes be part, and we know we see moving into like these multi-use types of buildings, facilities. So does that apply to apartment buildings?
So the thing to understand about environmental regulation is it never applies to a thing as you would experience. It doesn't apply to the building. It doesn't apply to the facility. It applies to a specific piece of equipment. And in that rule, we're talking about boilers under a certain number of BTUs. So could some of those apply in apartment context? I suppose we can get you the numbers on it, but it's not, the rule itself doesn't apply to specific types of commercial, types of industrial, types of residential. It applies to types of boilers because those are the things that would come to us for permitting from an air quality perspective.
I mean, we really are dehumanizing this process, aren't we? So let's identify those units that are in those buildings where people reside, particularly renters who would then ultimately have to bear the brunt of that cost increase for the removal of those units and the replacement of such. So I ask for that information out of the department.
That is not a problem to provide.
Thank you. I think I'll end here.